Hi, folks. Surely you are a bit worried, anxious about US Israel led invasion of Iran and its response. You have to think, or we have to remember the trends of US foreign policy and its interests. So let's look back at it. The world has changed dramatically since 1950s. The United States emerged from World War II as its only major beneficiary, with Western allies adopting largely subservient stance. This enabled the exploitation of resources-rich nations across Africa, Asia, and parts of Latin America. By the late 1990s, the rise of information technology and global media allowed critics, researchers, and ordinary citizens to scrutinize social, political, and economical behavior at community, national, and international levels. Sorry. Public discourse exposed the constraints of the petrodollar system on EU, Europe's energy dependence on Russia, and its reliance on Chinese goods. By early 2010s, these economic realities were openly debated in the media and reshaping geopolitical alliance. The United States, the sole superpower that truly profited from World War II, could seemingly obtain whatever it wanted, whenever it wanted, and however it wanted. A nation that preaches peace, democracy, and diplomacy, the US, long operated under the assumption that its president could act on personal judgment without serious challenge over breaches of international law, coexistence, or diplomatic norms. As Donald Trump himself articulated, a president's own morality and own mind are the sole limits on executive power, unconstrained by international law. The historical trend established by drawn directly drawn directly from declassified US State Department and CIA documents illustrate a pattern of installing dictators, fomenting chaos, and prioritizing American interest under the banner of freedom. So, below I'm providing a chronological order of the actions taken by USA since 1950s. These are not fiction, they are documented history and available. In 1953, Iranian President Mohammad Mossadegh nationalized the oil industry. The CIA Operation Ajax overthrew him and installed a brutal dictator Shah. In 1954, Guatemala President Jacob Arbenz enacted land reforms threatening the United Fruit Company. The CIA Operation PB Success removed him from power. In 1961, Congo Prime Minister Patrice Lumumba sought to nationalize uranium resources. The declassified documents show President Eisenhower ordered his assassination. Lumumba was killed and his body dissolved in acid, and Mobutu was installed as dictator for 34 years. In 1963, Vietnam President Ngo Dinh Diem resisted a CIA-backed coup. He and his brother were assassinated. A long war took place with US deploying 500,000 troops on boat in Vietnam, resulting in millions of deaths. And where is Vietnam today? Independent, under communist regime. In 1965-66, CIA supplied to General Suharto's forces of Indonesia, contributing to confirmed deaths of approximately 800,000 people. In 1966, Ghana President Kwame Nkrumah viewed Western banking and IMF's tools of economic subservience. After cutting ties with them, he was ousted in a CIA supported military coup while visiting to China. Mind you, Russia is exploring and acting on similar ideas today, aggressively pursuing de-dollarization alternative payment system like BRICS. We can talk about it some other time. In 1967, in Cuba, the Che Guevara promoted social revolution in Latin America. He was captured in Bolivia with CIA assistance and was executed. In 1973, Chile President Salvador Allende nationalized copper mines, infuriating the US. A CIA instigated coup installed General Pinochet. Allende was killed, and estimated 40,000 people died under the ensuing US-backed dictatorship. In 1980s, Nicaragua, the Sandinista government faced CIA created Contra forces, leading to over 30,000 deaths. You might remember Iran contraband issues. In 1980s, Afghanistan, US armed Mujahideen against the Soviet Union. Those fighters later formed the Taliban, becoming the US adversaries even today. In 1989, Panama, the US invaded and captured former CIA asset General Manuel Noriega at a cost of approximately 30,000 Panamanian soldiers' lives. 3,000 Panamanian soldier lives. In 2001, Afghanistan, US-led invasion Operation Enduring Freedom, aimed to dismantle Al-Qaeda and remove the Taliban after 9/11. The 20-year war, America's longest, ended with Taliban in return 2021 at enormous human and financial cost to US too. In 2003, Iraq, the US invaded on claims of weapon of mass destruction. Millions of civilians were killed, and the country is unstable even today. The CIA admitted that there was no weapon of mass of destruction there. Now, to go on, in 2011, Muammar Gaddafi pushed for a gold-backed African currency. that threatened the petrodollar system. US and NATO bombing and a subsequent coup led to his demise. Libya remains in chaos today. In 2019, in Venezuela, the democratically elected President Nicolas Maduro was refused to be recognized by US. The sanctions placed on the election of Maduro crippled the economy of Nicaragua, of Venezuela, and there were many failed attempts on his life. Finally, President Trump ordered the US forces to raid and capture him. On January 3, 2026, US military Operation Absolute Resolve captured Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores in Caracas. They flew them out and brought them to New York for trial on narco terrorism charges. Trump framed it as a law enforcement action backed by military forces, but it has drawn massive international condemnation as a violation of sovereignty, aggression, and even international vandalism by UN experts, professors of international law, and groups like International Commission of Justice, jurists. In 2025, Greenland, US proposed annexation of Greenland. At the 2026 Davos Forum, President Trump repeatedly referred to Iceland takeover while pressing the case, calling it Iceland mistakenly. In 2025-26, Iran, nuclear negotiations for fuel processing and storage were in advanced stages between Iran, America, and led by mediation. With the American state, Ameri- at the same time, the International Atomic Energy had stated that Iran had no active weaponization program on nuclear. Israel and the US nevertheless launched strikes on Iranian nuclear and military sites in 2025, the 12-day war. In Israel, initiated strikes on nuclear military sites followed by US on involvement bombing key facilities set the stage, but escalation continued in 2026. In February 2026, US and Israel started strikes again at targeting the nuclear infrastructure, leadership elements, and more. And Iran responding to threats over the Strait of Hormuz. It's still going on, and we don't think it's going to end for at least coming to a fortnight, or maybe to the end of to another 4 weeks. In 2026, Maduro was captured from his house in the palace and taken to US. This is the chronological history of US actions which can be obtained and is available on declassified documentation of US states and CIA. The thing is that what was once whispered only in private circles by 2026, after 7 decades of impunity, had come impossible to ignore. United States, a country that loudly champions world peace, democracy, and diplomacy, human rights, repeatedly, repeatedly acted outside international law, guided solely by its own interests and power. After 7 decades of documented interventions, from coups, assassinations to invasion and regime change operations, the pattern is clear for anyone willing to look. But history is not just facts on pages, it is a mirror for the present and a guide for the future. I ask you, dear friends, folks, what does this long record say about the true meaning of world peace, democracy, and morality when preached by the most powerful nation on earth? Does might truly make right? Can a country champion freedom abroad while acting with impunity? And most importantly, what should the world do now? What should you do when the world old rules have seemed to be broken and new ones of barbarian might are being written by force? Form your own view. Question everything. The answer matter more than ever. Ask yourself honestly, is this leadership or dominance? Is these defending values or enforcing interests? And if the world superpower operates this way, what hope is there for genuine global peace and justice? Please don't take my word for it. Look at the record and decide for yourself. Your opinion, your say does matter. So it'll be great if you can put your comments, your wish, your ideas here. Thanks.